In the seeming tranquility of our world, an astonishing experiment was quietly unfolding, one that might foreshadow the future of human society. Let us delve into this thought-provoking story and explore the peculiar world known as the Mouse Utopia. On July 9, 1968, in an unassuming laboratory in Maryland, John Calhoun created a microcosm dubbed Universe 25. The inhabitants of this universe were not humans, but 8 ordinary mice, 4 males and 4 females. Calhoun provided them with unlimited food and water, while researchers monitored and cared for them around the clock, ensuring they were shielded from disease, harsh weather, and other potential dangers. This space, referred to as Universe 25, was a utopia for mice. It resembled a cubic box with walls approximately 1.3 meters high and a base 2.6 meters wide. The interior was equipped with tunnels and rooms for the mice to move and live in. This perfect world had only one limitation: living space, which could accommodate a maximum of 3,040 mice. The creation of this miniature universe marked the beginning of an experiment that would challenge our understanding of society, population dynamics, and the very nature of utopia. As we peer into this meticulously crafted world, we are compelled to ask, what happens when all physical needs are met? How does a society evolve when freed from the struggles of survival? The answers, as we shall see, are both fascinating and deeply unsettling. However, no one could have predicted that this seemingly perfect utopia would descend into destruction in just a few short years. Throughout this process, the environment and resources remained constant, yet the mice transformed their utopia into their own personal hell. This shocking outcome forces us to ponder, why would such terrible things occur under ideal conditions? Before we delve deeper into this disturbing experiment, let's first acquaint ourselves with the creator of this universe, John Calhoun. Calhoun spent his childhood in Tennessee, where he developed a love for nature, fishing, and trapping animals. These childhood passions ultimately led him to 2 valuable assets: a PhD in biology and an enduring curiosity about God. At the age of 26, Calhoun secured a job with the Maryland state government, tasked with studying the characteristics of Norway rats, which were ravaging the state at the time. By 30, he had constructed a rat city in his backyard, spanning 1.5 acres and designed to house up to 5,000 rats. However, after 2 years, he was surprised to find that the rat population never exceeded 150. This phenomenon piqued Calhoun's interest immensely. He discovered that when the rat population reached 150, an invisible barrier seemed to appear, as if the hand of God was limiting their reproduction. While no one could see this hand, the rats' behavior was clearly affected. They ceased active breeding and instead exhibited bizarre behaviors. For instance, they spent considerable time rolling clay into balls rather than digging tunnels or building nests. They stopped cooperating and fought amongst themselves until the group size noticeably decreased. Only then would everything return to normal. This phenomenon deeply fascinated Calhoun. The hand of God seemed to possess the power to control the rats' minds, and the mechanism triggering this power appeared to be related to population density. Driven by this curiosity, he continued to create better cities for the rats, and time and again he observed the presence of the hand of God. Calhoun began to wonder if this phenomenon stemmed from environmental survival pressures. If he could create a perfect universe for the rats, would the hand of God disappear? The significance of this research extended far beyond mere curiosity. There were striking similarities between rat societies and highly developed human cities, as both humans and rats are social animals. In the 1940s, following World War II, human society was rapidly urbanizing, and the National Institute of Mental Health began supporting Calhoun's research, hoping to gain insights from it. As time passed, Calhoun's rat cities became increasingly advanced. By the time he was 37, the cities he created had become paradises for rats. They featured state-of-the-art facilities, climbable walls, and numerous food supply points. Each food room had dedicated rat entrances, and the entire design resembled a miniature version of a human city. Here, rats could live without interfering with each other, with abundant resources, well-developed infrastructure, and comfortable living environments. However, despite such favorable conditions, Calhoun discovered that the hand of God still persisted. Every seemingly perfect paradise ultimately faced the same issues. This discovery plunged Calhoun into deep confusion and anxiety. Over the course of his 20-year study, Calhoun's psychological state underwent a subtle transformation. In his papers, he repeatedly emphasized the inescapable behavioral consequences of rising population density. From a rational biologist, he gradually became tense and paranoid. It was in this state of mind that Calhoun embarked on his most famous experiment in 1968, Universe number 25. This time, he was determined to approach it from a purely rational perspective, attempting to unveil the secrets of the hand of God. Little did he know that this experiment would yield astounding results and profoundly impact our thoughts on the future of human society. The creation of Universe number 25 was meticulous and precise. Every detail was carefully considered to provide the mice with an ideal environment. The enclosure was a paradise by rodent standards, spacious, clean, temperature-controlled, with an abundance of food and water. It was designed to eliminate all natural stressors that mice would typically face in the wild. Calhoun's team went to great lengths to ensure the mice's physical well-being. They were protected from predators, diseases, and harsh weather conditions. The researchers even implemented a complex waste management system to maintain a hygienic environment. In essence, they had created a Mouse Utopia where every physical need was met and survival was guaranteed. This level of care and planning was unprecedented in animal behavior studies. Calhoun believed that by removing all external threats and providing for all physical needs, he could observe the pure social dynamics of the mouse population. He hoped this would provide insights into how societies function when freed from the basic struggles for survival. On July 9, 1968, the first batch of 8 mice entered this world dubbed as Utopia. Just over 3 months later, in late October, the first baby mouse was born. From that point on, the mouse population began to grow at an astonishing rate, doubling every 2 months, 20, 40, 80. Simple families gradually evolved into vast dynasties. This was the golden age of the Mouse Utopia, where everything seemed beautiful and harmonious. However, this idyllic period was short-lived. By August 1969, the total population of the Utopia had reached 6 to 20. It was at this point that a strange phenomenon began to emerge, mirroring what Calhoun had observed in every rat city he had previously built. The hand of God descended once again. As the new generation of mice grew up, many young mice found themselves unable to find mates or secure appropriate social status. The older mice, who already had partners and families, continued to tightly control social resources and status. This situation led to a series of disturbing behavioral changes. Young female mice who couldn't find partners chose to move to the upper rooms to live alone, distancing themselves from busy families and society, even avoiding neighbors. Meanwhile, young male mice who similarly couldn't find partners gathered in the center of the universe. Despite the abundance of food and water, they became irritable, anxious, weak, and even began to attack each other. These behavioral shifts marked the beginning of a societal breakdown that would only intensify as time went on. The once harmonious utopia was transforming into a world of isolation, aggression, and social dysfunction. The mice, despite having all their physical needs met, were failing to thrive in this artificial paradise. Simultaneously, the older generation of mice, those with partners and social status, also began to exhibit strange behaviors. They constantly moved house, trying to avoid neighbors they perceived as unfriendly. More disturbingly, they started to prematurely expel their newborn pups from the nest, forcing these young lives to become part of the new generation, living in the center or at the top of the universe prematurely. These changes led to a slowdown in population growth. In this seemingly perfect utopia, the new generation of mice developed a fear of society that far exceeded that of any previous inhabitants of mouse paradises. They began to spend all their time eating, sleeping, and grooming, no longer fighting or mating. These mice seem to have completely changed their nature, forgetting the most basic survival instincts of their species. Calhoun attempted to alter this situation by transferring some mice to normal environments. But shockingly, these mice seem to have completely forgotten how to live normally. In previous mouse cities, when the mouse population decreased to a certain level, the hand of God would depart, and the new generation of mice would reintegrate into society. However, in Universe number 25, the situation was vastly different. The new generation of mice continued to live outside of society, unable to reintegrate into normal life. This state of affairs raised profound questions about the nature of society and the impact of environmental factors on behavior. The mice, despite living in a physically perfect environment, were experiencing a complete breakdown of social norms and instincts. It was as if the very abundance and lack of challenges had led to a form of societal suicide. The implications of these observations were far-reaching. If mice, with their relatively simple social structures, could experience such a dramatic breakdown in an ideal physical environment, what might this suggest about more complex societies such as human ones? As the experiment continued to unfold, more disturbing phenomena began to emerge. challenging our understanding of utopia and the delicate balance required for a thriving society. At the peak of the Mouse Utopia's population, the number reached as high as 2,000. However, just at this seemingly prosperous moment, the entire society began to teeter on the brink of collapse. All the mice gradually transformed into that strange new generation, unwilling to breed, reluctant to socialize, merely mechanically repeating their daily routines of eating, sleeping, and grooming. This situation persisted until May 1970, less than 2 years after the Mouse Utopia began operating, when the last baby mouse was born. From that point on, no female mouse was willing to reproduce. The entire society fell into an eerie state of stasis, as if time had come to a standstill. Finally, on a day in 1973, the last resident of Universe Number 25 passed away. The Mouse Utopia had completely ended, collapsing faster than any previous mouse paradise or city in less than 5 years. This result completely shattered John Calhoun's expectations. He termed this phenomenon behavioral sink and divided it into 2 stages. The first stage occurred when the hand of God had just descended. Pups were expelled from nests before weaning. Male mice couldn't protect females within their territory. Females became aggressive. Young mice began to reversibly endure attacks without resistance. The second stage was more severe, directly leading to the demise of the Mouse Utopia. Females refused to breed. Males completely withdrew, neither fighting nor mating. Males ate, slept, and groomed alone, seeking solitude. These males had smooth fur without any scars. Calhoun called these mice the beautiful ones. These behaviors deeply and thoroughly destroyed the spirit and survival ability of the mouse community. The progression from a thriving society to complete collapse was shockingly rapid. In just a few generations, the mice had lost all semblance of normal social behavior. This raised profound questions about the nature of society and the potential dangers of abundance without purpose or challenge. In 1973, when Calhoun wrote down his research findings, his mindset had undergone a dramatic change. At the beginning of his paper, he devoted 1/5 of the content to discussing the apocalypse, emphasizing the content of Revelation in bright italics throughout the text. This paper not only troubled scientists, but also unsettled theologians. The scientific community considered Calhoun's citation of Revelation in his paper to be a desecration of science, thus excluding his 20 years of research findings from mainstream science. Theologians, on the other hand, believed that using animal behavior to predict the end of humanity was the greatest insult to God, even worse than Darwin's theory of evolution. They insisted that humans cannot be compared to animals, just as humans cannot be compared to God. This controversy led to an unexpected result. After 1973, there was never a Universe Number 26, and the Mouse Utopia experiment became a taboo topic. In that era, society had not yet seen the emergence of so-called pretty boys, effeminate boys, or ladylike men, and the losers of the High C era seemed far from us. However, just 10 years later, these phenomena began to manifest in human society. This inevitably leads one to ponder, did Calhoun's experiment truly foreshadow certain trends in human society? Are we unconsciously repeating the tragedy of the Mouse Utopia? As society develops, are we facing similar challenges? These questions are worth our deep consideration. The parallels between the behavioral changes observed in the Mouse Utopia and certain trends in modern human society are indeed striking. The emergence of social phenomena such as declining birth rates, increased social isolation, and a growing disinterest in traditional social roles among some groups bears an uncanny resemblance to the behaviors observed in Calhoun's mice. However, it's crucial to approach these parallels with caution. Human societies are infinitely more complex than mouse colonies, with cultural, technological, and intellectual dimensions that mice lack. Nevertheless, Calhoun's experiment serves as a potent reminder of the potential pitfalls of unchecked population growth and the importance of maintaining meaningful social connections and purpose, even in times of material abundance. Let's turn back the clock to 1995 at the Fairmont Hotel in San Francisco, where a closed-door meeting with far-reaching implications was taking place. Zbigniew Brzezinski, the U.S. National Security Advisor, proposed a plan called the Pacifier Entertainment Project. 500 human elites participated, including former Soviet leader Gorbachev, U.S. President Bush, former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, financial tycoon George Soros, Microsoft founder Bill Gates, and other top figures from various fields. The decisions made at this meeting could potentially influence the fate of all humanity. The attending elites were concerned that with the development of globalization and urbanization, human society would inevitably fall into the 20-80 principle. 20% of the elite would control 80% of the resources, while 80% of the population would become so-called junk population. However, what truly worried the elites was, if these 80% of people realized the truth about the real world, would they rebel? Would they destroy the utopia carefully constructed by the elites? During the 3-day conference, Brzezinski calmly put forward a seemingly simple yet profoundly meaningful suggestion. Put pacifiers in the mouths of 80% of the people. These pacifiers referred to various forms of entertainment stimuli, such as video programs, electronic games, useless objects, gossip news, and so on. Their goal was to use these meaningless contents to stimulate people's senses, making them addicted and thoughtlessly becoming livestock raised by the elite class. This strategy was termed pacifier entertainment. The alleged meeting and its purported agenda present a chilling scenario of social control and manipulation. However, it's crucial to approach this information with a critical eye. The lack of corroborating evidence and the sensational nature of the claims suggest that this might be more in the realm of conspiracy theory than established fact. Nevertheless, the concept of pacifier entertainment raises important questions about the role of media and entertainment in modern society. It prompts us to consider how various forms of entertainment might influence social behavior, political engagement, and individual aspirations. Whether or not such a meeting actually took place, the ideas it supposedly discussed are worth examining in the context of our increasingly digital and entertainment-driven world. The content of this closed-door meeting was exposed by 2 German journalists and mentioned in the book The Global Trap, published in 1996. However, this is the only evidence about this meeting, and we cannot find other evidence to confirm that this meeting actually took place. Therefore, for the past 30 years, the Fairmont meeting has been viewed as one of the conspiracy theories widely circulated on the internet. Nevertheless, in real life, we can observe more and more pacifier entertainment behaviors, and these behaviors bear striking similarities to the degenerative behaviors in the Mouse Utopia. For example, the phenomenon of low desire society and low birth rates appearing in Japanese society is similar to the situation where the new generation in the Mouse Utopia could not integrate into society. Another example is the frequent appearance of fashionable, handsome men in the media, reminiscent of the beautiful ones who lived to the end in the Mouse Utopia. In the Mouse Utopia, it took about 180 days from the appearance of the first beautiful one to the birth of the last newborn. This means that this destructive cycle could be completed in just 3 generations. If we apply this time scale to human society, 3 generations would take about 75 years. We can't help but ask, is human society unconsciously repeating this terrible cycle? However, we should not be completely pessimistic. Humans are, after all, different from mice. We possess stronger adaptability and creativity.